What's going on, everybody? It's 48 Minutes Network. Just the two of us tonight. Me and my illustrious brother, Joshua, Odellis, Forellis, Montellus, Overzealous, Hayes. What's good, my brother?
Hey, nothing, man. I think this might be the first time it's just been you and I doing one of these together.
I know, man. It's been a minute. It's definitely been a minute. You know what I mean? Since me and you have had the chance to chop it up and go live on the 48 Minute Network. Um, so um, our boy Timmy D and the rest of the crew have been covering these early college games. With college games slated, you want to check into the 48 minutes and all the socials. We got Ryan Luster out there taking pictures and doing some of the media stuff. We got Parker Fields. Sean Mackey covered a game last night. Tim's covering games. So myself and Josh will also be covering some games. So, man, you want to get on our socials. 48 Minutes NTWRK on the Twitters, Facebooks, YouTubes. You want to follow us. We do recaps of the local games. Xavier, UC, NKU. I mean, we get them all covered. So you need to check us out. We will be on there.
They picked some good games to go to as well. So
yeah, absolutely. So we will be covering the tri-state if you are in the Cincinnati area, or if you are abroad or living throughout the country and you still want to cover and follow your local schools, NKU, UC, or Xavier. Man, check us out. So on to NBA news. Josh, I'm gonna make this short and simple. Because we promised ourselves we weren't going to delve into this, and we still won't delve into it. I think we talked about it enough last week about how the Brooklyn situation and Kyrie is all a mess anyway. So we're not going to get into that. I am going to mention though that he did meet with the commissioner. The talks were supposedly pleasant, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on.
Right. And I'm going to move right along with you. I have nothing to say whatsoever.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons we wanted to jump on real quick and kind of talk is because yesterday we got to see something that has never happened in the history of the NBA before, where all 30 teams played on the same night.
Crazy.
So they had 15 games on the schedule, and they sent those games, and they played. Each game started 15 minutes apart from each other. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool. If you have Game Pass, I mean, it was probably crazy to watch, just like games everywhere. Like you didn't know what game to watch, what was going on, and there ended up being some pretty good games last night. So I know we're going to touch base a little bit on some of those games. Like I said, I thought it was really cool, and I know that I had looked it up, because I was like, man, it can't be that all the teams that never played on the same day before. And sure enough, that was the first time ever. And for a good cause. I think a lot of these teams are using their resources for like pollings, for like voting and stuff like that. So there are no games slated tonight whatsoever, because they all were yesterday.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, it's a good cause. I know a lot of the NBA stars have been promoting getting out and voting, and a lot of the arenas actually are polling places. So they've lent their resources to that, and it's of course a worthy cause. Like I said, we're not super political here, but it is cool to see the NBA get out and support voting and voting for things that you believe in. Whatever it is that you believe. So it was cool to see that. It was cool to see my man Miles Turner get 37 and get his 1,000th block last night as the Pacers continue to win and beat a really good Pelicans team. So I was really stoked about that, just because we're playing without Chris Duarte. He's hurt, but our young guys are stepping up. Halliburton is still playing well. I struggle saying his name. Mathine.
I struggle, trust me, man.
I love watching him play. I struggle to say his name though. But dude, they all have been playing Mathurin. I think it's how you say it, Mathurin. But they've all been playing well.
Just call him Benny.
Call him Benny Buckets. You know what I mean? Benny Buckets is his name. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, to watch this young team, like I said last week, to watch this young team grow and mature and play selfless basketball has been really cool. But man, there were also some really, really cool games. Josh, you mentioned before we got onto the broadcast, you're liking the more confident, more outgoing, more outlandish Steph Curry as he hit a big shot last night and they beat the Kings 116-113. So what are you seeing in Steph Curry now that you haven't seen in the last however many years that he's been playing and been on top and been an MVP?
One of the things I'm not worried about is the Golden State started off at 4-7, and no panic for me whatsoever because they have that championship pedigree. They just came off of winning a championship. It's probably going to take a lot to just get them motivated. I know they want to win another one, but they're trying to get a lot of these young guys into the game, and they're trying to kind of see how they fit in. And, they really want to get Wiseman into that starting role at some point. So, you're getting guys like Kuminga and Poole and Moody all involved. But for I don't know what it is. It started in the playoffs last year where I think Steph Curry just got sick of everybody saying, like, he's too little, like, he's a baby face, like, he doesn't have that dog in him. And then in the middle of that Denver series, when they were playing the Nuggets, and he went down and he hit that shot and he put them to bed with the sleepy face like this. Like ever since he did this, he's been on like a whole different level.
Yeah.
Like he got a tech and almost got thrown out of the game.
Right.
I mean, he was like up in the ref's face yelling at him. But they played the Kings last night, and the crowd was just giving Steph they were just giving him a bunch of noise, and he came down towards the end of the game and hit a long three in somebody's face, and he just looked at the crowd and he said a couple words, and then he put his kind of hand out like, I don't hear y'all speaking now, like what's up now? And I was like, where has this Steph been at then since he's been in the league? Like I like this guy, like because I feel like he's getting better. I know this sounds crazy. Like, I feel like the guy's getting better. Like, he's getting better with age. Like, it's almost like he's playing that Big Sean song in the background. Like, I don't with you.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of that with Steph, man, is just, I think after a while, you just get tired of naysayers. You know what I mean? Like, even though they just came off a championship season, everybody still doubts them, even though they've started slow. He hears it. You start off the season with the Draymond incident. You start off losing four games in a row. People are starting to doubt his team, his ability. Klay Thompson has struggled coming out the gate. So I think he's kind of had to, and you saw this a little bit with LeBron. When he first got to the Lakers and his year where he won the championship with, like, they embraced the bad guy. They embrace being that guy that pumps the crowd up, that guy that gets booed in the arena, that guy that doesn't get the respect that he thinks that he deserves, rightfully so. And I think he embraces that, especially with the struggles that Golden State has started out with. You were reading about, Steve Kerr switching up the lineup and maybe he needs to, play Klay less minutes or, there were just different things going on. And I think a lot of that falls on him as the leader of that team. So when he feels that pressure, as most greats do, they embrace it. And then it becomes, all right, well, if you guys want to doubt us, you guys want to doubt what we're doing, you guys want to doubt, our pedigree and the 4 championships that we've been able to win. All right, now I've become the bad guy. And you saw that, like I said, you've seen that with LeBron. You saw that with Kobe when Kobe was going through his, stuff with, the incident in Colorado, and people were hating on him and doubting him and this. And then Shaq left, and you saw that mentality in Kobe change. And that's when the Black Mamba came out, and you're like, ooh, like this guy he's different. And he was already different before, like with Shaq, but man, when he went from 8 to 24, like it was a switch. And in those first couple years, man, you could see it. And I think that's where Steph Curry is now. I think Steph Curry has been, I think he's always kind of had that aim, but I think it's bothered him coming off of a championship that people still doubt that team and that team's pedigree. So I think he's getting a little bit of that mentality where he's starting to play with that edge, which, like you said, I love to see it as well. It's really cool to me.
Here's the crazy thing about this, though, Ben, is that he's only played 10 games. He set out a game. I think all the starters set out one game, and they almost won that game, by the way. Mm-hmm. But I want you to listen to this. So he's in year 14, 34 years old. Okay. I know it's a small sample size. It's 10 games. Highest field goal percentage he's ever had in a season. He's shooting 51%. His splits right now, 51, 43, 94 from the free throw line.
Wow.
He's averaging 32 and a half, 7 and 7.
Okay. Jeez, Pete.
He's never been this good, ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and that's with him starting off bad. Like, he started off bad the first couple games, like shooting bad. I think but like last night, 17 of 24 from the field, 7 of 12 from 3-point range. Like what do you do in that instance? Like when you've made him mad and now he's this guy, like you want him to be the villain. So now he's the villain, right? And now he's this guy. Like you just turned him into like a legit monster that can't be stopped.
Yeah.
And like I said, Kerr will get the rest of Golden State under control. I'm not worried about that. I never thought they were going to come in here and be like a 60-win team, team season this year. I just know right now, like he's on that tear where remember that month of April that he had, that year that they went into the play-in game and they lost to the Lakers. Like that whole month where that's how he's playing right now. That's a scary Steph.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. He's just a different level dude right now. And he has to be because his team is struggling. I think he's embracing that role wholeheartedly. So another team that we wanted to discuss tonight, and it was one of my surprise teams, the Utah Jazz. Last night they played the Lakers, and I mean, not saying that this is a monumental feat, but they put the smackdown on the Lakers.
Hey man, we
by
said
23.
We said we weren't going to talk about the Lakers, and yet
right.
Utah's out here trying to be first in the West, and we ain't got no choice but to.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about them taking an L. So they're not the discussion point. So they are in the discussion, but not the discussion point. But you talk about the Utah Jazz. This is a team that, they traded away Donovan Mitchell. They traded away Rudy Gobert. Everybody thought they were going to fall flat on their face. And you look up, and they're 9-3. And the big surprise has been Lauri Markkanen. I mean, Lauri Markkanen has played out of his mind these first 12 games.
Me, myself, and I, Sean and Tim, all who are Bulls fans on here, has like been wanting to know like where this guy was in Chicago. Like we couldn't string together a full week of him being like consistent. And now all of a sudden he's in Utah like, hey, I'm trying to be first team all NBA out here. Like just falling out of control.
Yeah. I mean, he's another guy though. I mean, he doesn't shoot it great from three, but he's shooting 53% from the field and 86 from the line and averaging almost 9 rebounds a game, almost averaging a block a game. I mean, he's playing really well. I mean, and averaging almost 22 points a game. I mean, that's his highest average he's had since he's been in the league.
He came out with a pretty promising rookie year with the Bulls, and he was like 15-7 or something like that, and he shot pretty well from the floor for a rookie. But then he played 68 games. So I was like, cool. And then the next 3 years, like we got 50 games out of him each year. So like, we could never get the consistency because he was always hurt. Went to Cleveland for a year, and we was all like, yeah, Cleveland got a good deal out of that, with him going there. Missed another 20 games. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So now he's in Utah, and they're like, hey, he's played every game. He's playing 30 minutes a game. He's shooting 53% from the field. Like, he's our guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the crazy part about all of this is that Utah is doing it with guys, Colin Sexton, who was kind of written off in Cleveland. Colin Sexton doesn't even start. He comes off the bench. Jordan Clarkson, who we know is a bucket. I mean, that guy, he's instant 20 points. He's averaging 18. Mike Conley, of course, the veteran, he's still averaging 12. Kelly Olynyk, who starts for them, is averaging 12. They have a bunch of guys on this roster. THT, who is also there, who comes off the bench for them. They've got a bunch of guys on that roster who have decided that, we're not wanted by anybody else. We'll pull together and play good basketball.
Can we just talk about the all-Laker trade-away team right now?
Yeah. Hold on, I thought we weren't supposed to talk about the Lakers. Man. We're not supposed to talk about the Lakers.
Every time I think about the Lakers, I think about, is that one championship worth what you gave away? They just got guys everywhere flourishing. And they're like, man, we suck right now. Like we absolutely suck.
Yeah. I mean, that's the crazy part about it, is that those guys are having, great seasons and playing well, and the Lakers are old and they miss that young talent. So we talked about that before, how much they miss all those young guys.
Yeah. So yeah, man, they've definitely been balling. The team I want to talk about, I'm going to go to the Eastern Conference, and my team is the Atlanta Hawks. And we talked about this. Sean and I did a little bit. How was Dejounte Murray and Trae Young going to fit together, and was DeAnthony Hunter going to be able to have a comeback, and were they? We knew what they had in John Collins. We knew what they had in Trae Young. We knew what they had in Clint Capella. But we didn't know what the rest of the team was going to give them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've gotten some surprises out of guys like the rookie, AJ Griffin. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, he went for 24 last night.
Yeah, he went for 24 last night. And the Holiday Boys, they've been some contributors. But the real thing is that Murray and Young have figured out how to play that backcourt together this fast. We already know Murray was a dog in San Antonio. We've talked about him multiple times on the show, like how great we think he is. Only 26 years old. He's still got probably another 8 to 10 years left that where he's going to play at this level. And, he's out there putting up 22 and 8 along next to Trae Young's, whatever. And Trae Young didn't play last night, and they played the Bucks and handed the Bucks their first loss.
Yeah. I mean, not only handing them their first loss, blew them out. So
Trae Young and Dejounte Murray together are averaging 18 assists a game.
Yeah. Trae Young's still averaging 28 and 9 assists.
Yeah. And Dejounte Murray's in the high 8s. So think about that. You're getting 18 assists out of two players in your backcourt every night. So that not only are they shooting, they're not being selfish either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's probably been the biggest thing for that Atlanta team, is that those two have been able to figure out how to play off of one another and also get other guys involved. I mean, like you said, Hunter's still playing good minutes. Collins is still playing minutes. You still have Clint Capella. You got Justin and Aaron Holiday are giving you good minutes. The rookie Griffin is giving you good minutes. So they are getting I mean, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 9 guys that last night that played over 20 minutes. I mean, that's insane. That's deep. That's real deep. And that's without Trae Young playing. So, I mean, I don't know if one of those guys took minutes from Trae, which I'm sure they probably did. But even still, you have 9 guys that can give you 20-plus minutes and score the basketball and get and play the kind of basketball that Atlanta wants to play. I mean, that's a recipe for.
So they got about
really
8 guys for the season right now, averaging about 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're deeper than expected. The Murray Trae Young experiment so far has proven to be really well because both of them have been able to play off of one another. They both have been unselfish, and they both have gotten other people involved in the offensive scheme and what they want to do.
Well,
and they're playing fairly good defense. I mean, they only gave up 98 points to a Milwaukee Bucks team that was undefeated going into it. So,
well, again, the Bucks are running into that issue where I actually don't know what's wrong, but Middleton is not playing right now again.
Yeah.
So we know without Middleton, the Bucks do not win a chip. Like he's that big of a piece to what they do. And he takes a lot of pressure off of Giannis. But like we've all said, like we like the Bucks roster. Like we love Bobby Portis. Like dude is hilarious. They Serge Ibaka, Jordan Nora starting to get some George Hill. Like they're deep as Wesley Matthews. Like they're deep. Like the Bucks are deep. And the Hawks are like, hey, we're just as deep as some of these teams in the East, and we feel like we can compete. They're getting some good minutes out of players like Okongwu. Like I don't think they really knew what they were going to get out of him, and he's out there like, hey, I'm playing 20 plus minutes a game. I'm giving you what you need. 21 years old. Like so, this Atlanta Hawks team is also pretty young. When you start looking at some of the guys that are playing consistent minutes. So that's my team in the East. I think we expected them to be kind of around the 5-6 range. Was what we kind of talked about. Like they weren't going to be in that first 4 come playoff time, but as of right now, I think they're trying to prove us wrong.
Yeah, that Eastern Conference, man, I'm telling you, it's got a lot of really young, good teams in it. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out once we get to like the All-Star break, because if you look at the standings, the top 10 Eastern Conference teams are all 4.5 games from the top. I mean, it's not a big spread. I mean, that's Philadelphia is at 10 right now, and they're 5-6. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about the 76ers sit at 5-6 and they're 4.5 out. But there's teams in that top 10, like we talked about before, that you weren't really expecting, and there's teams out of the top 10 in the East that you were expecting, i.e. Brooklyn, i.e. Miami. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Which of those teams fall off? Which of those teams move up? Can Brooklyn recover? Can Miami play better? Miami just has not been playing really good basketball, but they usually start the season off really slow anyway. And then they turn it on like around the All-Star break or a little bit after. You got Toronto, who now is without Pascal Siakam for at least, I think they said 2 to 4 weeks. So, are they going to slide? Are they going to be able to continue to play? Cleveland, of course. Cleveland is one of those teams that you look at their roster from top to bottom, and we've talked about them before. They've got depth. They've got guard scoring. They've got wing scoring. They've got a front court with Allen and Mobley. They got a bench guys with Love. I know we talked about this last week. I think Cleveland is the team in the East. I think that will set the bar eventually at some point. To me, they've got enough of a roster to be able to compete with the Boston Celtics, compete with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that's the team that I think will stay in there. I don't think my Pacers will hold on. I just think we have too much youth. The Knicks are up there. I don't think they'll hold on because, of course, they're the Knicks. I think Brooklyn will sometimes at some point pull together, and I think Miami at some point will pull together. So it'll be interesting to see how this Eastern Conference shakes out. Just because I think there will be some teams that'll slide around, some teams that'll stay.
Hey, the crazy so you know how I am. You're probably the same way. We're Eastern Conference guys. Our teams were always in the same division growing up. So they had that Central Division, Cavs, Bulls, Pacers. I've always disliked the Cavs, even before LeBron got there. And then I'm not a big LeBron fan to begin with. So I never thought that I would be able to say this, but like I full-fledged am going to get a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey. And like obviously, I'm going to get my guy Mitchell because he's from Louisville. You know how I do, man, rep the L's. But I also just like watching this team play right now. Like they're just fun. Like they're very well built. And I think there were some people that were for the sake of life were just like, I just hope Cleveland just never is good again because they, didn't put a team around LeBron and blah, 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 blah. Like it was bound to happen at some point. I mean, they made trades and dude, getting Mitchell and the way he's playing right now, like they have 6 guys averaging double figures right now.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell does not get enough credit, and I cannot believe that he's not on people's MVP boards. The way he's came out and played these first games, this first part of the season, to me, there's not a question that he's a top 4 player in the league. Not a question. I mean, he's averaging 31, 4, and 6, and he's. I mean, the Cavaliers are sitting right now, which with their young nucleus, they're sitting right now at 8-2. To me, he's played at an all NBA level. And I thought that he should be considered in that early MVP talk. I think he's leading that team, but on top of that too, you're also getting, Darius Garland's back, and I think he had like an eye injury or something like that, but he's just now getting back. We already talked about the ceiling for Evan Mobley. Jared Allen, Kevin Love. I mean, I think that this team, for me, looking at them from top to bottom, is the team that could knock off the Bucks just because of their flexibility, their wing scoring, and what they're able to do. So
right now, I guess we have to say, Utah won the offseason, right? Apparently, Utah won the offseason with getting rid of Rudy, getting rid of Mitchell, first in the West, and have 3,242 first-round draft picks over the next 5 years.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, they got more out of Lauri Markkanen than anybody has in his first 5 years in the league, and they've Colin Sexton, which Cleveland didn't lose anything with moving Colin Sexton, but Utah gained a lot because Mike Conley is he's a veteran guard, but he's an older guard, and Sexton can kind of step into that role of playing those more minutes. And they've been able to get guys and put guys in that spot to help Utah be the way they are. So just to give everybody kind of an idea of how Utah looks in the next few years. So next year in the draft, they have
3 first-round draft picks. They have a pick from Houston, Brooklyn, or Philly, and the way that I think that works is that like they get whatever team finishes the worst. That's the pick they get. So they're probably gonna be Houston. So then they have their own pick, and then they get an unprotected pick from Minnesota. And 2024, they have a first-round pick, but they have to give that pick to OKC, who is the other team that's got all the first-round draft picks. So there's 30 first-round draft picks, and Cleveland and OKC have all of them. And then 2025, they have 3 first-round draft picks. 26, they got 1, and then 27, they have 3. 28, they have 1. 29, they have 3. So in the next 6 years, they have 15 first-round draft picks.
Jeez. That's crazy. That's crazy. You have to say they won, right? They're sitting at top of that division. I don't know if that'll last or not, but you got a lot of ability to make moves. If I would say this, if they continue to play at the stretch they're playing and continue to win games, I would assume that they would possibly try to make a trade with all those draft picks and bring somebody in to help them.
Imagine they can trade up. They can. There's all kinds of stuff they can do. They're like, hey, we want to give 4 first-round draft picks up to get number 1 to get Victor. There's so much stuff they could do in these drafts to build their team around stuff. And if any has not mentioned who did not win right now at all this was the Timberwolves, because they are struggling. They are struggling bad.
They are struggling.
They got beat by the Knicks last night. So
they did. Oh, hold on. We got a question. Our man Ajiman Garrett. I said the Knicks will make the playoffs. No, they won't. Sorry, Aj. AJG, that's our boy. But no, the Knicks won't make the playoffs.
So they're sitting right now at 42 or 5-5. At this exact moment, the Knicks are in the 8th spot.
Yeah.
If they play out the season as is and they stay 500 and go 42-42, they will make the playoffs. But the Knicks are the Knicks.
Right.
Something's gonna happen. Something will happen at the end of the season that's gonna cause the Knicks. I want them to make the playoffs. The year they made the playoffs and played Atlanta, like I was hyped for that. Seeing the Garden,
it was good. The Knicks being in the playoffs is good for the NBA. For sure. For sure.
Here's what's going to happen though, because we know our boy Tibbs out here.
Right?
he's gonna take his guys, and whoever it may be, whether it be R.J. Barrett, Brunson, Randall, some of these younger guys. He's going to play them 40 minutes a game. Yeah. And by the end of the season, they're going to be so worn out, like they're not going to be able to finish.
Yeah. Yep. He'll shrink his bench to like 6.
AJG, I hope you're right, man. I do hope the Knicks make the playoffs because I would like to see them back there.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what we talked about before. I think Philly will finish better than they will. I think Brooklyn will finish better than they will. And I think Miami will finish better than they will. So there's got to be some movement somewhere.
So you're really thinking I think
the Pacers and the Knicks will probably be the 2 teams that get pushed out of there. Trust me, I want to believe in the Pacers. I really do. But I think that of those teams, even with Brooklyn being Brooklyn the way they are, and everything in kind of shambles right now, I still think that the guy that we're not going to mention will get back from suspension, and Kevin Durant's still Kevin Durant.
The guy formerly known as Uncle Drew.
The guy formerly known as Uncle Drew, will come back, and I think that team will make the playoffs. And Miami, we already talked about Miami. Always start slow. They build. Once they get after the All-Star break, then Miami starts to play really well. So I think that those two teams, and I think the two teams that don't make it will be the Pacers and the Knicks. I think they get pushed out. I think Washington will play well enough to be in there. And Philly, I think, will play better. I think Joel Embiid, he's an MVP caliber player, and I think that he will lift that team to a playoff spot. So,
all right. So, what about the West? I know we talked about Utah a lot. How long can they sustain staying number one? There's teams, there's really 4 teams right behind them that have 3 losses, and that's Phoenix, Portland, Denver, Dallas. Mm-hmm. And then the Grizzlies are at 7-4. I'm super shocked about the Blazers right now. I don't know what's going on up there. Sean and I kind of touched about this a couple weeks ago. I do believe Denver, Dallas, and Memphis will all be there. I believe the Clippers will be there when they to figure out what's going on with Kawhi. Who basically what I've saw today is now they're saying he's out indefinitely.
Oh, really? Yeah. That changes the landscape for me because, Paul George is a phenomenal player, and this is no knock on him. I think that team still makes the playoffs without Kawhi. I just don't think they have enough to make any run. You have to have that other guy, and I don't think it's John Wall. It's not, it's not Zubac. It's not Terrence Mann. It's not Robert Covington. It's not Nick Batum. It's not one of the Moors. But it's those guys can't be a Robin to Paul George's Batman. I just don't think none of those guys can do it. Kawhi is the only guy that gives you that ability. And if Kawhi doesn't play 40 games in the season and tries to come into playoffs, I just don't know if you get that kind of cohesiveness, that kind of, what you need to be able to make a playoff push. And on those games, he's going to have to play every night, which, Kawhi could do it, but, I don't know. I think the Clippers can make the playoffs, but it'll be tough if Kawhi's out indefinitely. That means you're putting just more and more on Paul George, which I think he can handle it, but he just doesn't have anybody else to step up and do what a Kawhi Leonard can do.
You're right. So the Jazz and the Blazers, I don't know how long they can sustain this. Now, if we get 30, 40 games in and they're still sitting in the top 4, then I guess we're gonna have to buy at that point. But I look at teams like the Pelicans and the Warriors are definitely going to move up. I really like the New Orleans team. Brandon Ingram and McCollum and Zion together. I think that at any given night, if they're all on, they can beat any team in the NBA. They're young, they're athletic, they're talented, and they've been playing together well. And then also they got a couple of guys that they've been able to use. Trey Murphy III has been fantastic for out of nowhere. He's up to 30 minutes a game. We like Herbert Jones because of his defense. Valanciunas has always been a dog. So it's not like, Tim's boy Najee Marshall's been getting some run. And then you got the thief in the night, Alvarado.
Yeah.
he just keeps himself on the floor making play after play after play all the time. So I like this team, and I know right now they're sitting where they're sitting at, but both Ingram and Zion were hurt. Like Zion got kind of fouled really hard on a play and kind of fell on his hip and missed a couple games. They're sitting at 5-5. They will be better than 500. So I see them moving up. I see Golden State moving up. I don't know about Minnesota. Oklahoma City, the Kings, the Rockets, and the Lakers, So those 4 teams I don't see getting in. The Lakers may figure out and make a run for that last spot, the 9 or the 10 spot. But
Yeah.
the Grizzlies, the Mavs, the Nuggets, and the Suns, like those teams have all already showed me that what they're going to be in the playoffs regardless. Jazz is killing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Luka, which I picked Giannis to win the MVP, but Luka right now to me is the front runner for the MVP. He started out the season 10 or 9 straight games over 30 points.
To these 36, 8, and 8. Oh my god!
And like,
oh my gosh, Luka! I mean, I knew he was good, but goodness,
don't do it to him,
36,
Luka.
8, and 8 right now.
And he's efficiently doing that though, Ben. He's efficiently doing 52% from the floor.
Oh my!
Like that's not Luka. That's not Luka, man.
Yeah,
Luka ain't never shot. Luka ain't never shot 50 from the floor. He's also never shot 80% from the free throw line, which he's almost at right now. Wow. So yeah, Luka, and almost averaging 2 steals a game. Like now he's acting like he's playing defense.
Right.
So the other night, my kids and I were having a conversation, and like I don't think they understand. They were like, "Oh, some of these guys in the 80s and 90s could never play in today's league." And I said, "Listen, I'm letting y'all know right now, Larry Legend is a carbon copy of Luka Doncic. Like, if we took Larry and his speed and like how he played the game back then, and you brought him to the league now, he's doing what Luka's doing. Like that's who he was back then. And you know, he was a better shooter than Luka. Luka's probably a better ball handler. But the speed of how Larry played the game, the speeding up and the slowing down and the fake passes and the fadeaway one leg, like all that, like that was Larry back then. And the way the game is spaced out now, like y'all letting Larry put up 30 a night, man. I was like, trust me. I was like, Luka, there is nothing special about Luka's game when you watch him play. He is just crafty and he is very skilled at like getting the spots on the floor. And like he has an array of moves that he can get the ball off. And that's just who he is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'll say this. 83 through 86 Bird. I mean that right there.
I'm not talking about Dream Team Bird.
No. Yeah, we're talking about like 83 through 86, like MVP Larry, like that dude right there was a problem.
Yeah, and that's
an absolute problem.
That's who Luka's reminding me of right now. And like Luka's another guy like on the court, like he's got that dog in him. Like Luka's definitely got that dog in him. And he does not like to lose. And I tell you what, we didn't know how it was going to work. Them getting Christian Wood definitely has made a difference because
absolutely.
He's been playing. And I tell you what, man, they're getting some big minutes out. I mean, we've seen some of these other guys like Hardaway Jr.'s back now. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how he was going to come back playing, but, you know, he's averaging double digits. He's shooting decent. You know, for the most part, everybody's struggling a little bit from the floor, but he's shooting decent. Christian Wood's killing it. Dinwiddie's killing it.
You know what's crazy is Christian Wood comes off the bench for them. I didn't know that. JaVale McGee starts for them.
Yeah,
or
JaVale McGee starts.
I had no idea.
And then Christian Wood gets the majority of the minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
maybe Jason.
Well, we saw Christian Wood. I mean, we saw him. In Houston, he was dominant, and they were terrible. So now you put him with a Luka and a Dinwiddie and a Hardaway Jr. and a Finney Smith and all these different people. Yeah, he's around some people that can play now.
They have 9 guys on their roster averaging 17 minutes or more.
Yeah,
7 averaging.
That's another
minutes.
Team that's deep. Yeah, that's another team.
But they're getting really good minutes out of guys like Josh Green and McGee and Dwight Powell. You know what I'm saying? We knew the other guys, Bullock and Keebler, like they were contributors last year. Like we knew they were going to be out on the floor. But here's the thing: I think people don't realize now is that, dude, Christian Wood's out here shooting threes. He shoots threes at a 46% clip, and it's not like he's shooting one every now and then. He's shooting 3 a game. Like it's not like, you know what I'm saying? And dude, Luka's got shooters around him right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So we said what Golden State gets in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're looking at it now, Golden State gets in. What about San Antonio? That's been a. I mean, they're 5-6 right now, and they're. I mean, they're playing with. I mean, they've got guys. Keldon Johnson stepped up huge for them. He's averaging 24. Um, he's averaging 24 points a game for them right now. The other one that has really played well is the other shooting guard, Devin Vassell.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's played really well as well, averaging 20 points a game. I don't know if it's sustainable, and I don't know if they get passed up because when we were talking about this in our previews, San Antonio was supposed to be in Tanksville, right? Like they were trying
Well, but
to.
here's the problem with San Antonio is that they have ran into the meat and potatoes of their schedule. So
Yeah,
they've lost 4 in a row,
yeah,
and they lost to the Raptors, the Clippers, and the Nuggets twice. And now they play the Grizzlies, the Bucks, and the Warriors and the Blazers right after
oh
that.
yeah. So grand opening, grand closing.
They were like, "Yay!"
Yeah,
Hey, but
yeah,
think about it. They started out the season. They were like they beat the Pacers, and that game
yeah,
was pretty close.
yep,
The first game of the season, they got drugged by Charlotte, but then they beat the Sixers, and so everybody
yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay, San Antonio." And then they turn around and beat the Wolves, and then
Hmm.
they turn around and beat the Bulls, and then they turn around and beat the Wolves again. And they were
Right.
like, "All right, we might have something out here." You know, we started out the season 6-2, and they were like, "Nah, player,
Yeah. Well,
four
we
L's."
figured out, and we also figured out that the Wolves are are are, are not starting off as well as we thought they would. Um, and some of those wins they're like, yeah, maybe those weren't good wins, but like you said, they start to hit the grind of their schedule, and they can start to have some issues.
There might
So
that 5 game stretch. They might not win a game.
yeah, that stretch is brutal. That stretch is brutal. That is really brutal.
So the
Um,
other thing is though with Minnesota, you know, and they're sitting kind of right there, but like they got they got what 5 wins.
yeah.
So out of their 5 wins, they beat Oklahoma City twice, the Lakers,
Ugh.
San Antonio, and the Rockets.
Oh, they've got terrible wins.
So
They've got
they now come
terrible
up
wins.
they now come up against Phoenix, Memphis, Cleveland, Philly, Miami, Pacers, Warriors, and then they play the Hornets and the Magic in there. But
Oh
like
man.
they're about to run into a little bust all like if they don't get it figured out, like they gonna be trying to get a draft pick.
Yeah, and there's no reason why they should be bad. Like you look at their roster. I mean, you've got Russ. I mean, if I told you and you weren't and you didn't know these guys were on the same team, and I said, okay, you can have Rudy Gobert, you can have Russell, Anthony Edwards, Carl Anthony Towns, and Jaden McDaniels, and that's your starting five. If I told you that, I would assume you'd be fairly happy.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I feel like they lost, and I'm pretty sure if we go back and watch one of the pods, I said that I felt like they lost a lot. They lost a lot
Yeah,
of guys that gave them minutes, and those
yeah,
guys are, you know, um, they they got guys like Jaden McDaniels and Nas Reed and Tyron Prince, and they got Kyle Anderson from the Grizzlies
yeah.
and Brian Forbes and like
Which he's
I
only
don't know.
played
I'm reading
7
their lot.
games.
I'm reading their roster, and they got guys that have been places that have done things. Like Austin Rivers is like way down the list on their roster. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
Austin Rivers
but
has had some decent
he
games here
missed
and
some
there.
games too. He's had some injury issues. Um, yeah, he's had some injury issues. Kyle Anderson's had some injury issues. So maybe it's that lack of depth that's been hurting them. I mean,
So for me, Anthony Edwards is very much Donovan Mitchell esque. I think he's a bigger, more athletic version of Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell had this same problem in Utah when Rudy Gobert was on the floor. What could Mitchell not really do? He couldn't really drive and get to the basket. I think Anthony Edwards is having the same issue right now where he can't really drive to the basket because not only do you have Gobert down there, you also have Karl Anthony Towns sometimes like in there. So like the floor is not spread out at all. Yeah. And, you know, you're basically turning Edwards into a jump shooter, which he probably shoots around the league average at, 35% from three or whatnot. But we've seen this guy already in the first 2 years of his career have some dunks on people that I'm just like, bro, he just shut the studio down.
Right.
So part of his game is that, he's not really a guy that's going to be all fancy and get to the lane and like he wants to poke on you. Like he wants to end your career.
Right.
So I think that's the struggle. So if they don't figure out how to spread the floor and like put two guys on and like run first team, second team and like spread that, like it's going to be a struggle for them to get this figured out.
Yeah. They've definitely been one of the surprise teams that I thought that would be a little bit better having all of that talent. But like you said, you brought up a good point. Like, I mean, if you can't spread the floor and get people out of the paint so that their athletic guys can drive to the basket, then that would make it difficult. So,
well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this is going to look like over the next month and see like where teams change positions and, is Philly going to pull themselves out of the hole? Is Golden State going to still struggle? Are the Lakers going to still be dumpster fire? Prune juice, trash, like just.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting storylines. I mean, I think with the Lakers and I think the Lakers are what they are, but when you have LeBron, Anthony Davis, I think the biggest thing with them is I really feel like at some point one of those guys is going to get moved. Like I think at some point the pressure of them not being as good as what they should be, I think one of those guys gets moved. I don't know if it's Anthony Davis. I don't know if it's LeBron. But at some point, I think the Lakers will cut their losses and be like, all right, we've got to do something. And we got to make a move and get some assets back to where we can build around whatever we've got.
So Mark Eversley, if you're listening, I can't speak for all Bulls fans, but I can probably speak for the Bulls fans on this podcast. We do not want AD. We do not want AD. We don't want him.
Yeah. I know we talked about that the other day, and I know that one of the three other pod members, producer Tim, was adamant that he'd want Anthony Davis. The other two of you were like, no. So I kind of agree with you guys, but like I said, he's not on my team. He ain't coming to my team. So, I mean, true. I don't see it. So, but yeah, other than that, man, I think that it'll be interesting to see what happens with some of these teams. There's a lot of storylines out there, a lot of guys, a lot of teams moving, teams up where we didn't think they'd be, teams falling where we didn't think they'd be. So it'll be interesting to see in this next, I would say 3 to 4 weeks going into the holidays and Christmas, how these teams fall and what they do. So. But yeah, man, it's interesting talking East and West. It's interesting talking where these teams will go. Joshua Delis, I appreciate you being on with me tonight. It was a fun show. Like I said, if you guys get a chance, whatever streaming, podcasting platform that you listen to, please leave us a 5-star review. We love them and we appreciate them. Follow all our guys on socials. We got all our social medias out there. Follow 48 minutes NTWRK on the Twitters, on the Facebooks. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got a TikTok. I found that out last night because the TikToks kept popping through because all our guys are out covering the local college game. So if you get a minute, give them a follow. We would greatly appreciate it. For my man Joshua Odellis Forellis Overzealous Montellis, I am Ben Brown, and thank you for listening and watching 48 Minutes. See you guys next week.